Tamil Nadu government sanctions more than 95 crore rupees to combat drinking water scarcity and drought across the state. Tamil Nadu Chief Minister O. Paneerselvam writes to the Prime Minister seeking his personal intervention to ensure the immediate release of the 54 fishermen from the Sri Lankan Navy. Mass weddings conducted in Vellore and Tirunelveli districts as part of the birthday celebrations of the People's Chief Ms. Jaya. The news in detail. The Tamil Nadu government, which follows the path forged by Ms. Jaya, has sanctioned a sum of 95.20 crore rupees to various districts and government departments to combat drinking water scarcity and drought. In Tamil Nadu, during the Northeast Monsoon 2014, the districts of Vellore, Thiruvannamalai, Ariyalur, Trichy, Kanchipuram, Virudhunagar, Madurai and Perambalur received deficit rainfall. The district collectors of the above districts have reported drinking water scarcity in some pockets of their districts and requested for drinking water supply. The Principal Secretary to Department for Municipal Administration and Water Supply Department has forwarded the proposals received from the head of the department such as Chennai Metropolitan Water Supply and Sewerage Board, Director of Municipal Administration, Tamil Nadu Water Supply and Drainage Board, Town Panchayats Department, and requested to arrange to sanction the funds from State Disaster Response Fund so as to enable the urban local bodies to take up the relief work in time. The heads of department and district collectors have reported that the following works will be taken up for drinking water supply: drilling of borewells, source augmentation, rejuvenation works to pump set, mobile water supply through lorries, providing syntax tanks, replacement of pipelines, erection of mini power pumps and erection of hand pumps. The district collectors of Dharmapuri, Thoothukudi, Viluppuram, Tanjavur, Ramanathapuram and Karur districts have also sent proposals seeking funds for the water supply works. In the meeting chaired by the Chief Secretary with the secretaries and heads of department and monitoring officer for Vellore district on 11th March 2015, the situation of drinking water supply was reviewed and it was assessed to allocate funds to the tune of 95.50 crore rupees to take up water supply works to the departments and district collectors under the State Disaster Response Fund. The Chief Minister of Tamil Nadu, O. Paneerselvam, wrote to the Prime Minister seeking his personal intervention and exhorted him to take concrete and decisive action to ensure the immediate release of the 54 fishermen and their 10 boats apprehended by the Sri Lankan Navy today. Paneerselvam said that only when all the apprehended fishermen and their boats are released will the talks be held between the fishermen of India and Sri Lanka on the March 24th in Chennai be meaningful and conducted in a conducive atmosphere. In his letter, Chief Minister O. Paneerselvam said, as the Prime Minister was aware, his revered leader Puratchi Thalaivi Amma, in view of the sentiments and desire of the fishermen community of Tamil Nadu to hold talks with the fishermen of Sri Lanka to sort out the day-to-day issues faced by them while fishing in the Park Bay and in the interest of keeping a channel of communication open between the fishermen communities of both countries, had facilitated holding fishermen-level talks between fishermen associations of Tamil Nadu and Sri Lanka. The next round of talks is scheduled to be held in Chennai on 24th March 2015. The Sri Lankan fishermen delegation was programmed to arrive in Chennai in the morning of 23rd March 2015. At a time when all the groundwork for the talks has been completed and there was eager anticipation amongst the fishermen community that these talks could lead to a significant breakthrough in a long pending and vexatious issue, it is most disconcerting and shocking to learn that the Sri Lankan Navy has apprehended and arrested 54 innocent fishermen belonging to Tamil Nadu and their 10 boats in two separate incidents which took place in the early hours of 22nd March 2015 when the fishermen were engaged in their peaceful avocation in their traditional fishing waters in the Park Bay. The Chief Minister observed 33 fishermen in 5 boats belonging to Rameshwaram fishing base in Ramanathapuram district and 21 fishermen in 5 boats belonging to Jagadapattinam in Pudukkottai district who set sail on 21st March 2015 were apprehended by the Sri Lankan Navy and have been remanded up to 27th March 2015 and 2nd of April 2015 respectively, he pointed out. These latest incidents coming as they do on the eve of the fishermen-level talks constitute an extremely unfortunate development. The unprovoked and belligerent action has caused tremendous anxiety and agitation amongst the fishermen community in Tamil Nadu, he said, adding the assiduous and decisive steps being taken by the government of Tamil Nadu under the guidance of his revered leader Puratchi Thalaivi Amma to diffuse the tense situation prevailing in the coastal districts of Tamil Nadu and to create a conducive and accommodative atmosphere for the smooth conduct of bilateral fishermen level talks could be undermined by this action of the Sri Lankan authorities. The Chief Minister emphasized that this latest incident definitely required the Prime Minister's personal intervention and that they exhorted him to take concrete and decisive action to ensure the immediate release of the 54 apprehended fishermen and their 10 boats. The Tamil Nadu Chief Minister requested the Prime Minister to instruct the Ministry of External Affairs to take up the matter with the Sri Lankan government forthwith and impress upon the Sri Lankan authorities to arrange for the immediate release of the fishermen and their boats. He said he wished to state that only when all the apprehended fishermen in Sri Lankan custody and their boats are released would the talks be meaningful and conducted in a conducive atmosphere. As part of the birthday celebrations of AIADMK Supremo Ms. Jaya, mass weddings were conducted in Bellore and Tirunelveli. 67 different kinds of gifts were given to the couples for their use. A letter written by the People's Chief Ms. Jaya wishing the bridal couples was read out during the function. Minister K.C. Veeramani solemnized 122 weddings in Bellore as part of the birthday celebrations of Ms. Jaya. He also read out the letter of wishes written by the AIADMK Supremo. Similarly, Minister R. Vaithalingam solemnized 68 weddings in Tirunelveli and read out the letter written by the People's Chief Ms. Jaya wishing the bridal couples.
வாழ்க்கையில் எல்லா நலன்களும் அமைந்திட வேண்டும் என்பது என்னுடைய பிரார்த்தனை. கணவனும் மனைவியும் ஒருவரை ஒருவர் நிரந்தர அன்புடன் நேசித்து வாழ வேண்டும் என்பதுதான் நிறைவான குடும்ப வாழ்க்கைக்கு இலக்கணமாக கருதப்படுகிறது. அந்த இலக்கணத்தை பின்பற்றி புதிய இலக்கியம் போல் வாழ்ந்திட மணமக்களுக்கு என்னுடைய நல்வாழ்த்துக்கள். மணமக்கள் வாழ்க பல்லாண்டு. எங்கள் அன்புள்ள அம்மா.
67 household articles were given as marriage gifts to the couples.
இந்த 67 சீர்வரிசை கொடுத்து எங்கள் வீட்டில் கூட எவ்வளோ பண்ணியிருக்க மாட்டாங்க. இங்கே அவ்வளோ நல்ல அம்மாவே வந்து பண்ண மாதிரி ரொம்ப சூப்பராக பண்ணியிருக்காங்க. அம்மா அவர்களுக்கு ரொம்ப நன்றி.
ஒரு ஏழை குடும்பத்தை சேர்ந்தவ எங்கள் அம்மா வந்து எனக்கு இல்லை. எங்கள் அம்மா வந்து என்ன செஞ்சுருப்பாங்களோ அதை வந்து அம்மா வந்து எனக்கு செய்கிறாங்க. அதுக்கு நாங்கள் கோடான கோடி நன்றி சொல்லுவோம்.
A grand feast was organized on which the relatives and friends of the couples relished tasty dishes. Pakistan should control terrorism if it wants peace and reconciliation, Jammu and Kashmir Chief Minister Mufti Mohammad Syed has said. He termed the terror attack in Kathua and Samba as a conspiracy to derail the peace process between India and Pakistan. Syed's comments came in the Jammu and Kashmir Assembly days after the attacks in Kathua and Samba. He said the people of Jammu and Kashmir have a strong resolve and that terrorist attack would not deter them. He appealed to all parties to unanimously pass a resolution condemning the attacks in Kathua and Samba. Syed told the Assembly that the peace that existed in the state in 2003 would return and also noted that the tenure of former Pakistan President Parvez Musharraf was marked by lower tensions on both sides of the line of control. India and China will hold the 18th round of border talks in Delhi from Monday, the first round of negotiations after Prime Minister Narendra Modi came to power last year, where the two sides are expected to focus on clarification of the line of actual control. Special Representative and National Security Advisor Ajit Doval would hold talks with his Chinese counterpart and State Councillor Yang Jieji amid hopes to clinch a solution under the strong leadership in both the countries. The two-day talks is taking place in the backdrop of candid discussions between Modi and Chinese President Xi Jinping during latter's visit to Delhi in September last year. Chinese officials say LAC clarification could figure in this round of talks, which are being held in the backdrop expectations on both sides that since Modi and Xi have emerged as strong leaders, the two nations had a unique chance to strike a deal. China says the border dispute is confined only to 2,000 kilometers, mostly in Arunachal Pradesh, whereas India asserts that the dispute covered the western side of the border spanning to about 4,000 kilometers, especially the Akasi Chin area annexed by China in 1962 war. A massive base enveloped a chamber located near the visitors' gate at the Parliament House this afternoon. No casualties were reported and the fire was brought under control within minutes, according to the Delhi Fire Service. The DFS said the blaze, probably triggered by a short circuit, broke out at a chamber accommodating transformers regulating the air conditioning system in the Parliament around 2:15 p.m. A contingent of Central Reserve Police Force Jawans posted inside the annex spotted the blaze before alerting the local police, who then intimated the fire department. 8 fire tenders were rushed to the spot to quell the flames and were successful in doing so within 20-odd minutes, the DFS said, adding that cooling operations was also taken up. At least 87 people have been killed and more than 100 wounded in ongoing clashes between the Pakistani military and Taliban AL fighters in the country's northwestern Khyber tribal area, the military said. The fighting involved both ground troops and aerial bombardment began on Saturday and was going in the Sipa area of the Tirah Valley, sources said. The military said that it has killed at least 80 people, all designated terrorists, while 7 soldiers who were also killed. Operations will continue with full force till total terrorist elimination from these areas, tweeted Major General Asim Salim Bajwa, the military spokesperson, on Saturday evening. Pakistan has been battling the Lashkar-e-Islam in the Khyber tribal area adjacent to Peshawar and part of the federally administered tribal area since October last year, when it expanded anti-Taliban operations into the area. Operations have particularly focused on the Tirah Valley, where fighting was also taking place. On March 12, the Lashkar-e-Islam, led by local commander Mangal Bag, formally entered into an alliance with the Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan, an umbrella organization of anti-state religious extremist groups that have been fighting against Pakistan since 2007. So far, operations in the Khyber tribal area have resulted in the deaths of at least 419 people, all designated terrorists, as well as at least 17 soldiers, the military said. Pakistan launched military operations against the TTP in June last year, with Operation Zarb-e-Azb taking on the TTP in its heartland of North Waziristan. Since then, it said it has killed at least 1,883 terrorists while losing the lives of more than 120 soldiers. The fighting has also seen the displacement of more than 1 million people from both North Waziristan and Khyber. On Friday, the government began a process of assisted repatriation for those who had fled parts of the Khyber tribal area that were not in the active conflict zone.